Good morning, everyone. It's Robin Elliott here from Triple Ace Games, and we're back this Saturday with the latest episode of The Sky Is No Limit, and I'm joined with my fellow explorers, and we're just going to get started in a minute. We're going to go through a little bit. I'm going to spend some experience points on my character. We thought it'd be interesting to share that with the viewers, and then Eloy's going to do his famous recap in a sec. So yeah, I've got 26 experience points that we've established is correct after being doubted for a minute, but there we go. I managed to squirrel away 26 experience points. So
a ton,
yeah. So I'm going to buy a new talent, and the talent that I'd like to buy is Spark of Life.
Whoa. Do you want to tell the viewers at home what Spark of Life does?
Well, everybody knows that my character, or should do by now, is Oscar Winegold, who is a weird scientist type inventor. And so I thought he's got his weird science talent. The Spark of Life talent, it basically it unlocks the secret of life, which I then can use to create sentient beings,
living
creations like robots.
Yeah.
So
there's good in-game context for how he could have discovered this.
Yes, because we with the Epiphany we had a couple of robots that came along. So perhaps I've had time to examine them over the weeks and understand their inner workings a bit more. So I think that kind of works quite nicely.
The tragic death of Delta.
Yeah, are we going to
put it back together?
Or maybe I can fix him.
That is so altruistic. You're going to spend your hard-earned experience fixing our friend Delta to find out what the rest of his sentence was. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. That's what I'm going to do.
Took you half a year to gain an experience, old boy. And that's oh man, you're warming my heart right now.
So
cool.
That's what I'd like to do, if that's okay with our GM.
That sounds fantastic.
So that's 15 points. That leaves me 11 points left to spend. So Spark of Life. What I'd like to do is spend the rest as well.
Do it.
Yeah, it's no good at sitting there doing nothing. So I'd like to improve my piloting skill.
You've been piloting a lot in some pretty unusual circumstances.
So,
such as upside down.
Yeah, absolutely. Upside down, making crazy Ivan turns, and it's good. So I've got a base of 3.
So the new rating is 4.
So
multiplied by
2, isn't it? So I need to spend 8 points to raise that up, which I
4.
Can get that done. So that's up to 4. That leaves me with 3 points left, which
you could use to buy a specialty in something.
Ooh.
That extra die.
I think that might be quite cool to add to my archery skill then.
Which you've also been using a lot and only with your specialized crossbow. So if you put crossbow as your specialty, you're cooking with gas.
So that gives me a +1 dice.
Yep.
Is that added to my base, or?
It's added to the skill, to your firearms or your archery, in this case, skill.
Okay.
So you just make a notation there that you have specialized in crossbow. So on some of the character sheets in Ubiquity games, that can be difficult to arrange, that there's no spaces provided for specialties. So it's something to think about when doing your graphic design.
If only we knew the person who did this character sheet. What an absolute chump. Okay.
No, he is an icon, a pillar among graphic designers.
Oh, blush.
So that's 26 points gone in the wink of an eye.
Splurged it all. It felt good though.
Now, I mentioned a couple of sessions ago that I had never seen anybody, critically fail outside of a few odd occurrences. And then Ivan took it as a personal life mission to begin critically failing as often
Illustrate
as he could.
concept, yes.
Yes. So I'm going to introduce another thing that I have very rarely seen, except when I myself have done it as a player. And I have never seen anyone other than me no, I lie, because Ivan kind of did it once in our all-for-one Regime Diabolique game. But it's very rare for me to see people buy an advanced talent, right? So raising a talent to the next level rather than relying on style to boost it to the advanced levels for a higher bonus in a scene. Right? So I've got my fingers crossed that we're going to play long enough to see that happen.
We'll see. I've done it with Jack of all trades, which Oscar has, and that is worth
totally worth it.
The price of admission, definitely. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm totally up for this. So let's play on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have 14 XP right now, and I'm like giving serious consideration to doing something like that. Maybe improving Die Hard, just because. As usual, I start the game with 5 lethal wounds. So, it just seems like it would come in handy.
So, how many wound levels do you have left?
Well, that's a good question, oh boy.
I believe you should have 2.
How long did we rest? That's a good question, because we started out, let's see here. I started out, I believe, if my notes are correct, from so long ago.
While you're checking your notes, I have to rescue one of my animals.
Okay.
Animal wrangling. That should be a skill.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, let's see. Let me look at my health track here. 0 health, 5 lethal, 1 neutral. Neutral, 1 non-lethal. There you go. That's where we were. Then we did XP. And at that point, I don't believe we healed I don't really rested a very long time, because we were under the care of a doctor. We kind of ended the session where I was at 5 lethal, 1 non-lethal.
I think we ended the session doing the healing checks, right? Just precisely for this reason, because it's one forgets.
So we were under the care of the doctor. So I was healing twice as fast.
Yeah.
So it really depends upon how long we actually rested, because the first thing I would do is I would heal 1 non-lethal wound in a half a day, but a day.
Okay.
But after that, I was up with 5 lethal wounds, which I'm now here at the rate of.
Oh, that's right. You only have 5 lethal wounds. You're not at -5 lethal wounds.
Exactly.
Which is more like you. Yeah, the negative.
More like me. But the good news is, I'm healing at double rate as long as we just don't do anything, and I constantly have the administrations. But right now, I'm not in the negatives.
That's always
okay. So if no one's spending any experience.
Not right now.
All right, then. Let us turn ourselves over to Eloy for the recap from session 10, which was Détente of Doom.
So previously on The Sky is No Limit, our crew was divided with George Mallory and Tanvir Singh up in the Royal Geographic Society airship Ares, and the rest of the crew was by the wreckage of our own ship, surrounded by the Royal Geographic Society troops. So we began play with an attack by mounted riders of the reptile people on pterodactyls, attacking the Ares airship. George and Tanvir joined the effort to drive off the attackers, and so large melee began over there. Meanwhile, on the ground, Lawrence Garibaldi and Oscar Winegold got onto the skiffs, which have been prepared with the remnants of the anti-gravity paint and powered up to hover. And so they made their escape from the Royal Geographic troops, only to be attacked by the pterodactyl flying reptile men as well. They made their way to the river, and as they're moving upstream, fighting off these pterodactyls, they almost crash into each other.
You got my way.
Yeah, that's under dispute. But anyway, the combat ensues both in the ground and in the air. And in the Ares, two or three pterodactyl men were carrying a large crystal bound between a net, right? And so I believe we managed to shoot one of them. And so the net sort of falls and the crystal drops to the ground and causes a huge explosion, causing the Ares to lose power and crash into the ground. Most of the crew is wounded. A lot are dead. But the skiffs managed to drive off the last of the reptile men, and then we rendezvous at the Ares crash site. Once everybody is together, Mallory goes over to look at over the dead and the wounded, and so does the rest of the crew of the Epiphany. Going out from the skiffs and looking for survivors to help. And we find Rochefort and have a conversation in which he reveals that yes, the Royal Geographic Society has had contact with the reptile men of the plateau for a long time now, and they had a sort of arrangement where silver from the mines was being given to the Royal Geographic Society in exchange for keeping people away from the plateau of the reptile people, and things had been at least peaceful. But then something has happened of which we don't really have details, but members of the expedition that were already at the plateaus started showing up in Belém, delirious, and the attacks began. So our crew, the crew of the Epiphany, figures, well, maybe there's been some sort of change of power or change of attitude, and so whoever's leading the reptile men has had their fill of these invaders and has unleashed or declared war upon these invaders, and this is what we assume. But knowing that there is a small outpost over there at the silver mines, we've come to the decision that instead of this being a race to see who can get to a discovery first, it has now become a rescue mission where we will attempt to move upriver with our skiffs and rescue any survivors of the silver mines that we can bring back, and perhaps even find a solution to this hostility with the reptile people.
Right on.
And I think that's where we are. So we were bandaging wounds and taking care, and perhaps we can rest a day or so before we renew our expedition.
And I seem to recall drinking champagne as fast as possible in order to use the very tough bottles to replace the rather fragile, slapdash batteries.
Because you can't just pour it out. Like, the only way to empty a bottle is to drink it. You can't just.
Yeah.
But
there's a whole waste issue there,
It spoils if you open
apparently so.
Don't want to die of dehydration out in the jungle, old boy.
Or lack of bubbles.
This is a classic year. This Bollinger, can't just throw it away.
I believe that's how we got talking with Rochefort, right? We opened a bottle that survived, and that's where we got the truth out of him. So
thank you for rescuing us alive. Anyhow,
well, that, and he respected you for coming up on the roof of the Ares to defend, the enemy from the enemy. But now the day of rest, of course, is mandatory for many of the injured around you, and for the members of the Epiphany crew who made the trek through the rainforest to find the crash site on their own to catch up. They're exhausted and they need food and clean water and everything like that. So the day of rest is going to happen regardless of what anybody really wants to do. But it's not the most mentally restful day, because the very last thing that happened in the previous session was that as the sun was setting, the sky was lit by the green glow of the wreck of the Epiphany drifting silently by, holed and twisted and crushed, and somehow able to to stay aloft, even though it had been cannibalized. It had been wrecked first, but then cannibalized by Oscar to make the skiffs. Somehow, it still flies with this green and ghostly glow.
But none of us on it either.
And none of you on it. Yeah. It looks like a ghost ship.
Forgot that part. Yeah.
Isn't that the ship, Winegold?
So during the day, the next day of rest, okay, this is the topic of conversation in the camp. Some of the RGS people never having seen Neslinger's ship to begin with, never having seen the Epiphany, its size and its design, the fact that there's no gas bag or any of those things is quite disorienting. But then the flickering glow, the massive destruction and devastation to the hull itself, and the people in the know that the engine was disassembled in order to assemble the skiff engines. It's impossible that this thing is flying, and yet it is. So the sun rises and a beautiful day. The doctors work hard. Food is prepared. The sun sets, and then the following night, it's time to plan for those who are going to go on their rescue mission or to chicken out and go back to London.
Unthinkable.
I mean, London does seem quite appealing at this point.
Oh, relax, Winegold. We're here. We're here to make history.
Yes, but we already broke a record. I mean, surely that's good enough to get us some recognition back at home.
Well, now, Professor, we have a duty to our countrymen to go see if we can rescue any survivors. Besides, I am intrigued by this vision of the Epiphany aloft. I understood we had stripped enough anti-gravity paint where it would not be able to float on its own. So even if these power crystals somehow have managed to provide energy to the ship, they can also make it fly? Is that not a technological discovery of great importance waiting to happen?
That is a curious point. Maybe the danger is worth finding this out.
Oh, come on.
Curious point. You have a talent for understatement, Winegold. So, Mally, listen.
Oh, my dear chap. I just, we've been through a lot, that's all.
Sentries come to alertness, and they start pointing. They say, movement in the tree line, and people are scrambling for weapons and things.
My word. Not again. Ready the...
Slowly. Oh, so very slowly. Alpha, Beta, Gamma. Gamma carrying the broken body of Delta. They come slowly grinding out of the tree line, covered in vines, stained in streaks of rust. And Alpha says, "What can we?"
Oh, good heavens.
Is there anything you can do for them to speed up their...
Do they need, is it just a simple winding operation that they need to do to speed them up?
Some of them, Alpha and Beta in particular, were of the clockwork variety. They were self-winding, but Gamma and Delta, they needed to wind themselves, right? They were self-winding in a completely different way, but they weren't designed to do an overland trek through through this kind of terrain.
I'll grab my oil can and sort of lubricate the joints and stuff.
Oh, Winegold, it's far too late for that. Get some silica gel.
We're in the middle of the jungle. We don't have silica gel.
Damn it, man! And I'm looking through the areas.
There might have been some
grabbing
on the
materials.
Epiphany, but that's gone now.
Grabbing anything that looks like a desiccant to put these fellows in in a crate with some desiccant for a while, trying to dry them
All right.
out as a chemist.
Right, the rainforest. Looking for something dry in the rainforest next to the river.
Listen,
Try. That's your chemistry.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
All right, cool.
I wouldn't know. I'm just some guy who lives in Korea.
Hey,
I'm sure the
okay.
desiccant's next to the silica gel.
in the aisle.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
It's a small purple berry that grows on a low bush.
Chemistry. Okay, cool. Oh, 3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was. Yeah, that's tough. That's right there.
Yeah. However, what you're looking for is nearly impossible to find.
Well, that's some kind of failure right there. It's a pitiful failure. No, wait, no, it's a complete failure. I'm sorry, it's complete failure.
It's a complete
That's right.
failure. Yes, you completely
I
failed to find what you were looking for, although it was within the realm of possibility with your die pool. All right.
Alpha, I'm sorry, I've completely failed. Let me wind you, old boy.
I appreciate the effort, sir.
Okay, well, I shave after that because clearly I've grown a beard during that time.
Yeah.
You can hear the phonograph or whatever it is that is responsible for their speech grinding away in their heads as they speak, and
Poor bastards.
Gamma has a serious clank going on, even standing there, and he's like leaning a little bit off to the side.
Poor bastards. So Mallory, what's our best tactic? You're the military strategist.
Well, I think we stick to the plan. We go by river using the skiffs. Maybe now that we have our automata back, they can stay with the skiffs, and send a small contingent of men, as close as we can get to the silver mines and see what the situation is. I think we send the rest of the wounded back to Belém, make best possible speed through the jungle. I think that's our best bet, just to get an idea of what's going on with the contingent at the mines, with the outpost.
That makes sense. And Winegold, can any of the other men that said from Marquette, can they pilot the skiff a little bit better than Mallory?
There are the captains, the other captains.
So,
I mean, not that I mind flying it, but just I think someone got to watch the batteries.
So now that Rochefort is in agreement with our plans, whoever is left of the crew of the Ares who wants to join us, I think we could use some reinforcements. We don't want to take a lot of people because we want to leave room in the skiffs to carry survivors back.
That's right. We're taking Smith and Percy, though, aren't we?
if I remember rightly, we escaped with 2 skiffs, but there were more skiffs made.
There are more skiffs back at the Epiphany site, ostensibly.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So I thought you only had managed to power up 2 of those, but if there's more hover skiffs, that'd be great.
They haven't taken them. Yeah, sure, we can pilot somebody back there and fly somebody back. But we're taking Smith and Percy, aren't we?
I suppose.
I mean, just for
I have to excuse myself for a minute. There's an urgent thing going on with Buddy, but if you guys could make your plan, and then.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second. I got to do a thing here as well.
Well, I guess we grab the other skiffs.
How many are supposed to be? Do you know?
I think there were 4.
4 total?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, so we can grab 2 more skiffs.
I think so. Yeah. So we
Great,
can
yeah,
take.
so
We can take. Maybe we should keep one empty-ish so that we can bring back survivors. Put more kit in that one. Supplies that we can use on the way, and then free up more space and pick up our survivors. Do we know how many survivors we need to pick up?
I think we had asked for an estimate the last session. I don't remember the answer we were given.
I don't think it's even as big as 10. I think it's
yeah, it was a handful.
So we can get them all into one skiff.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
That's the best.
We don't need to bring Jean-Claude because he's going to cook something, so he's out. But we need to bring Burke. If we bring Burke and his Batman. You need
Burke is very good in a fight.
And Phillips the Sharp Eye. You have to bring Phillips the Sharp Eye. Absolutely.
Yeah,
you know, who wouldn't take Phillips? And then you've got to take you got to take Alan Smith just because I mean, if there's no photographs, didn't happen.
Yeah.
And, I managed to find. Listen, the areas on the records. I managed to find several empty notebooks. I mean, I'm just thinking Percy probably wanted to use them.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, we bring our chroniclers along. Why not? This is the chance of a lifetime. Although I can't imagine that Rochefort will be too happy with any publicity if this makes it onto the London papers. But so, and I think we should bring Rochefort. He's good in a fight as well. Plus, he knows the way to the mines, right? So
the other issue that you may have forgotten that was raised was that somebody in the RGS has to be able to deal with the locals, or with the Lost Plateaus people's language.
Oh yes, that's
true.
Right.
True.
And there's a certain twinkle in that one eye of his that suggests it's probably him.
Well, of course you bring him.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, we were planning on bringing him anyway, and perhaps he can even start teaching. I don't know, the professor or something, so that he knows at least some rudimentary.
Don't shoot.
Something like that. Yeah. The basics of the language. Was it Garibaldi who had been studying the written symbols? We tried to communicate with the old man once, right? The old man we captured at the beginning of the adventure,
woman, yeah.
right? So they did write some symbols down, and we made attempts, and we were unsuccessful.
I think so, but I'm pretty sure it was Winegold that was really more.
Was it Winegold? Okay, so
listen,
cool.
I was making a lot of headway with that woman. I was like, hey, biscuit.
Biscuit, that's true.
Yeah. Friends.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the direction Garibaldi was taking.
Garibaldi had written them out on the chalkboard in the laboratory.
Okay, so that's what I'm remembering. Yeah.
Winegold had the long late night, go back conversation with the older man.
So
right, don't go, but can't we go a little? No, just don't go. But
right. Okay, so
I want to go. Don't go.
You've already started trying to make headway into that. So maybe Rochefort can help you.
Yeah.
If only people had experience points left.
That is true.
Yeah.
I have few.
But maybe you'll earn some today.
Yeah.
Who knows? It could happen. I don't know what that game master that you guys have, though. I doubt it. Do I want a biscuit?
Yeah. I didn't say that's where that's not a style. That's like at least a style point. Anyhow.
I'm waiting for my culinary printer to actuate, but I'm not noticing any activity. All right. So, while I was away, what did you decide to do?
So we're going to go
bullet point it for me.
Yeah, going to go and fetch the other skiffs. So I think there was 4 skiffs in total. Is that right?
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Or was it 8?
You were making
I think
4.
It was, or was it 8? I can't remember.
That's an experience point deficit if you'd like 8.
So
4 skiffs. You have 2. There are 2 left.
So we will go and retrieve the 2 further skiffs. We're going to
I lie. There would be 5. Everything's done in 5s.
Okay.
Yes, there are 5. So 3 are left.
Okay.
And how will you get the injured and whatnot down the river to Balim? Was that discussed?
Well,
Or is
perhaps.
that's just the RGS? People take care of that?
Well, perhaps we
that
could
problem?
leave one of the skiffs, right, and have them transport people back and forth to Belém. That'll be much speedier, much easier for the wounded. They could just even follow the river out to sea, right, and go by the shore back to Belém.
Yeah.
So, because we decided, we're not really taking an army in there, right? It's a small, quick force to reconnoiter the area of the outpost. And we understood there to be only a handful of people left at the outpost. I think we talked with Rochefort and he gave us an estimate last session, but I can't remember like how many people were there at the outpost.
It was less than 10, something like that.
He only had the numbers for the original complement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So how many people are left? He has no idea. It could be 0.
Right,
Okay.
but up to
10.
Up to 10,
Well,
which is
minus the 2 that survived coming
Right.
down the river, right?
so.
Okay, yeah. So that's
So if it's
we're
a
gonna-
maximum of 8 people, they'll fit in a skiff comfortably, right?
So we'll leave, so we'll bring 4 skiffs up that way, leaving one of them relatively empty, having a capable, semi-capable pilot in each one. We're not going to bring Jean-Claude because what is he going to cook there right there? But we're bringing the chroniclers, and we're bringing Burke as Batman,
and Phillips,
and
scout.
Phillips. You got to bring Phillips. And then what else?
Jean-Claude is still in Balim. He's
Oh,
in
that's right.
talks to open a bistro.
That's right. Okay, so
Oh.
of course, that's right. I've forgotten about that, because we haven't had to cook anything lately. And so we're going to leave one skiff because we've got 5. We're going to leave one skiff back here to help transport people, and perhaps if somebody cares enough about us, if we go completely missing, they'll go look for us at what we'll call Lakes Camp, for lack of a better word. And okay, that's cool. And what do we do? The automatons? I don't know. Do we decide we want to bring them? We want to bring them with us so they can just kind of wait by the skiffs.
I suppose. I mean, are the automata capable of piloting skiffs? Right.
Oh, I don't think the reflexes are really good right now.
That's true.
They suffer penalty. They have the skill. They suffer penalty dice because of their speed. So they've got
you're
a flaw
flowing
of
with these
slow. So.
I don't know if you're
But they earn a lot of style.
It takes nerves to steal the fly when they smell. I don't know if you recognize it. But yeah, needs to be sharp. Need to be sharp, Mallory.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
sharp
I
right
know,
now.
but
But they can guard the skiffs
sure.
more or less. Well, they can shout. They can slowly shout protests when somebody else takes them. But it's something.
They'll be useful. I mean, worst case scenario, at least they can move the skiffs from one point to
Ballast.
the other. Yeah.
They'll provide ballast. But okay, let's go. I think we're good. As long as we find the other skiffs available, wonderful. If not, well then it'll be sad. We'll just take 2 and
Well, that's true. That's true. We have to see if they left any behind.
After the discussion about their utility, right? Beta takes Lawrence aside and pulls a slot over in his chest to reveal a firearm.
Ooh. That's cool.
And then pushes it closed again.
fantastic. You know how to shoot that old boy.
As if it were a very part of me, sir.
Smashing. Thump. All right. We can give you lessons one day. Anyhow.
So you're all excited. You're all getting ready to go, getting ready to mount up. And then the item that has been forgotten suddenly confronts you with itself in the form of the thin and weedy voice of Lieutenant Archibald Credenza.
Exactly.
Or whatever his name was. Beauregard, Armbruster, Credenza,
Crescendo.
Spinoza.
Oh,
And he comes tromping out of his tent and says, "It is forbidden for any member of the Royal Geographic Society to enter the Lost Plateau. It will stay lost, gentlemen."
Go back to sleep, Crescendo.
look, Beauregard, let's be reasonable about this. We've got to rescue our fellow countrymen. We can't leave them behind.
They knew
That's-
the risks.
Well, yes, but I mean, wouldn't you want to be at least make the effort to find? We won't leave
I
our
think,
fellow
sir,
soldiers.
that you will find a credenza is staunch and unmoving.
Well, that's a good thing because you're not moving anywhere without the skiffs, and we are taking those. So be a good chap and get
You can't
all the
leave me
wounded
here.
here. Of course we can. We'll leave you a skiff. You can help in the transport of all these wounded men back to Berlin. They're in need of...
Oh, you need me to take them to Berlin? Oh, yes. That is fine. But you, sir, you shall not go to the Lost Plateau. I forbid it. You
Sure.
shall stay with me.
With you? No. That's not what we're going to do. I'm afraid...
There's hidden laughter around the outside, you know. Like Burke, for example, who's like cleaning his gun. His shoulders are just shaking, and a certain one-eyed man is...
I'm afraid we'll have to stay behind here and secure the remnants of the Ares. There might be some more of those reptile men coming to scavenge the wreckage. So I suggest you get a move on and start mobilizing those wounded men.
I won't forget this, Mallory.
I know you won't. So I'll try to remember you too, Buford.
What a funny little man he is. All right.
Well, he does, says Rochefort, have one of the most impressive mustaches I've ever seen maintained in the rainforest.
That's his only claim to fame, though.
Well, I'm not too concerned about Credenza's standing. I think we've earned the respect of his men more than he has.
I'll be quite surprised if he makes it back to Berlin without having a heart attack once he sees what's actually living in the Amazon.
That much is true.
You make a good point, though, Bert. I walk up to Credenza. What sort of wax do you use there, old boy? That's fine.
I do not use wax, sir. I'm a dignified English gentleman. It stays straight because I will it so. Obviously, it's coated in wax.
Yeah,
He's been waxing for hours, right?
Right. I'm looking for the bulge in his pockets anywhere where it's obvious that his wax is, kind of searching his body at the same time.
Right. Oh, so you can grease the...
Absolutely,
grease the automata.
I am looking to grab it. That's my whole intention here. Is I'm looking for the things I can yank it out of his pockets.
That is two styles, sir.
Yeah.
Nice.
And grab it out. I thought, good. I could use this. Thank you. I'll buy you another one.
Well, I don't know how that got there. He trundles off, momentarily forgetting his terror at realizing that George Mallory is actually going to abandon him here.
I'll take my little tin of lubricants and grease up some joints.
Gamma's just standing by the skiff, still holding the lifeless body of Delta. And the sun is getting, higher in the sky.
Yeah.
All right, so how's we better go?
Yeah, as quick as possible. Professor, is there something you can do to restore our friend Delta to working condition?
Well, let me see. These are complicated machines, but I've been studying them for a week or two, so maybe I can have a look. I'll start
Now,
prodding
you
around.
gentlemen know that once he starts playing around, it could be 5, 6, maybe more days before his head clears enough to have a conversation with anybody. You really want him to
Just
take
don't
Delta
have the
apart?
time right now,
right here?
Winegold.
But look at these
And I said,
circuits.
look
How amazing it is. I mean,
And toss Delta's head into the skiff that I'm going to be in. Sit down on it.
look at
There'll be plenty of time later. There'll be plenty of time later.
Look at the cogs. Look how beautiful they are. They've got such lovely engraving as well. I mean, the workmanship is exquisite.
And so I gather that the skiffs are moving their way down the Amazon, and this voice is floating across the way. All right.
Okay, maybe this will take more time.
The best use. To make the best use of time, you are able to find the remaining skiffs. There was some minor vandalism done on them, but it doesn't take too much effort to get them back in working order again. So that part of your plan moves smoothly. Rochefort is willing to go with you, but he's assigning all of his surviving men to the care of Captain Cartwright and dealing with moving the survivors out. And there aren't enough of them to handle all of that, really, considering that the condition that everyone is in. So he hopes you'll understand if it will just be you and him.
Makes Well, let's be on our way. Did any of the automata manage to get a glimpse at how the reptile men secured the ship? Did they bring another one of those large crystals?
They had already, they left at the same time as everybody else did.
So they did not.
It just took them an entire day longer.
Okay. Sure. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So that mystery is still mysterious. So Rochefort loads up a case of champagne.
Excellent.
Just in case. And caviar.
Oh, yeah, please.
Shouldn't let it go to waste.
It'll just go bad.
Exactly.
Are those quail's eggs I see you have there as well?
Yes, indeed.
Little tea biscuits.
Haven't had one of those for some time now.
Well, we have to eat them all today.
Well, at least we'll be well fed for when we reach the outpost. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So we're using
on the strength of food like this that the British Army conquered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are we using skiffs as actual skiffs for a while and actually using them in the water and then flying in later? Is that our plan?
Because of the anti-gravity paint, they float.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
They'd probably move faster, right? No water resistance or something.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. So your aerial convoy is following the river upstream toward the direction where Mallory is fairly well informed and can confer with Rochefort. Neither of you, of course, have actually made the journey this way. He's done it by air with other people navigating and piloting. And you've just seen, the flat map of the terrain. So this is a navigation challenge, which can be assisted by Rochefort with 2 dice. But it is a difficulty of 3.
Right. So I have a skill, a rating of 6 in survival, plus 2 assistance dice from Rochefort.
You'll also get 2 additional dice because, as you remember, when you saw the map, this earned you a bonus for this challenge.
Excellent.
So you'll have 8 dice on a difficulty of 3.
No, that's 10 dice because it's 2 from the map, 2 from Rochefort, and 6 from my skill. So it's 10 dice. Okay, so here we go.
That's probably enough.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes on 10 dice. Which is
the average.
Somehow, in this campaign, the average seems exceptional.
It does.
we've had the worst luck. All right. With 5 successes, a lot of the lies that the Amazon tells explorers failed to trick the wily George Mallory. And this cuts travel time. It was going to take a full day. But after a certain number of landmarks, areas of high ground and very sharp looking rocks and rapids in the river itself, Rochefort indicates that at this speed, he thinks that you'll be arriving not long before mid-afternoon.
Right. Excellent. This is great. This is the part of the anti-gravity, right? The current would have been against us. It goes out to the sea, right? And so if the rapids or anything, we just float over it. So that's and the river is basically a clear structure, right? So it's like a highway to us. Yep. So excellent.
A highway of horror, as you see in various sections, animals being consumed by carnivorous fish, seeing crocodiles rolling with their prey in their mouth, separating limb from limb and then dragging them to the bottom so they can get tenderized by muck and murk, and aquatic snakes.
It's an Arapina.
It paints a very vivid picture.
This is just like being Cuvier. This is just like the books I used to read as a child. This is awesome. This is fantastic, gentlemen.
This is great.
I'm going to move to the center of the boat.
I'm leaning right over as a biologist. I am right in my element. This is a dream come true. Right in the middle of the Amazon.
Yeah, nice.
Right.
I think George is in the front part of the boat, right? Just enjoying the ride and just witnessing everything. This is what they live for, right? They're explorers. So,
Anne Smith is taking photographs, trying to capture the height. Trying to catch the perspective with her camera equipment. She's very frustrated. If only there were a way to present the images differently, And Percy is furiously writing. It was the best of times. It was no.
I'm pointing out different specimens. For God's sakes, Bert, don't shoot it! Don't shoot it! Just look.
Oh, look.
I'm being attacked by one of those creatures. Oh my God!
Vicious creature. The dreaded carnivores of the jungle. There we go.
At that rate, he'll be flayed in about 8 weeks.
All right, what's up with you? What's up with you? Hey, go on.
I want to roll dice.
You don't have an experience to buy a pet. Cut it up.
No animal companion.
No follower. No follower.
All right. Now, as Lawrence Garibaldi is leaning over the side, indicating all these different things to Percy and causing Percy to describe how erudite Garibaldi is, he is the first to spot a member of an Amazon civilization standing on the edge of the riverbank, spear in hand, and signaling to the craft as they come up. You can definitely hear the craft before they're seen. They make this rumbling kind of buzzing electrical discharge noise, and so obviously this tribesperson had walked out onto the beach and was waiting and was signaling, hoping for some kind of conversation.
Rochefort, have you met any of these locals? Do you speak the language?
I may speak the language. He's not wearing any markings with which I'm familiar, though.
Well, I think it's worth a shot. Professor, slow the craft down. I mean, if they wanted to ambush us, we wouldn't even have seen them. So let's go in and see what they have to say.
All right. So you assemble your convoy, and in halting English with an Oxford accent, he indicates that he hopes you will have a good day, but also that he hopes you will not continue in the direction of travel. For those who go that way, do not come back.
We appreciate the warning, but we go to see some of our tribe who are lost, and we hope.
We've lost them.
We've lost George.
George has been turned to stone by an Amazonian malady.
Stop in mid-sentence. Damn it, Mallory. You sound like a damn missionary.
He'll be back. So, this educated gentleman doesn't seem to be that interested in pressing his argument about how it's unsafe. I mean, here he is, spear in hand, in dangerous waters, hunting for food. So he understands taking peril on, but he asks news from the coast and abroad that he could share with his friends.
Rockstar, Gamble, come here. Come on, chaps. Tell him about the damn crickets.
His face lights up. The cricket.
I just have at it, boys. Just give him the scores. It's dramatic.
And he's hoping to trade, right? He's got some fresh caught fish, and have the horrible fangs, but they're quite meaty.
Looking around and a knife. I grab his Winegold. Give me that jar. Throwing some quail's eggs. I've got a thing of caviar. I'm giving him caviar as well.
Got a mouthful of
some of the stuff we brought
eggs.
back.
Yeah.
He recognizes what these things are. Remember, we're living in a Victorian era that meets people on equal terms. So he recognizes what these things are, and he's comparing his fish to these things. And, I'm afraid you're trading, or I'm trading at a disadvantage.
Oh. No, of course not. It's exotic food.
What does he look for something? Is he looking at anything else that he might take a fancy to?
Well, he feels like he doesn't have enough to give you in return for these gifts. He's just offering fish from the river, which he thinks maybe someone like Burke could get for himself.
But Winegold doesn't like ice anyway. He's already eaten too many of them.
Yeah. It's a bit of an eggy smell about.
Well, all right then. And he clearly lets it go. Live and let live. So he makes this trade of fish for caviar and champagne.
So do we want to ask? Only Mallory hadn't fallen asleep. What else could I ask this poor fellow?
Mallory did have a trying time, and he was very close to the point of detonation of the blast. So.
Yes, no, I know, I understand. He's still a little shell shocked from the whole thing. Suppose he might be having generator problems.
You're having the buzz problem.
The buzz problem. Really?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Is that better?
It's totally better.
Oh, okay.
It's 100% better.
That's good. Let's give me. Man. Well, in that case, just ask him if has he seen any activity from that area lately? Any describing the tribesmen to the best of my knowledge, describing that tribe. What has the activity been there like? And has he in fact seen a strange flying object?
If you have the time, you could come back to our village, and we could tell you the tale as we know it.
Well,
I think
maybe
it's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. Maybe we could let Mallory rest, and we can find out some more information.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I had to go in there blindly. I mean, Mallory is a great strategist and all, but damn it! And I slap the head of Zelda. None of this now. Don't stay focused, Winegold. Focused.
Okay.
Keep the tools in the kit.
Hey,
Right on.
Welcome back.
he's on his
We
proper.
decided.
You're on your
we
proper
decided-
setup as well.
Yeah, we've traded a caviar for fish, and I gave away all of his good stuff. But now we're gonna get some more information from this guy. We have to go back to his village.
There we go. You got information from the guy? What?
Well, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it now.
Oh, okay.
We're going to his village. We're going back with him to his village to get his intel on these folk.
Excellent.
Right. So many folk are left with the skiffs, and you guys go with them up into the village, which is very, very comfortable, very well organized, and it's a curious mix of modern technology, from 1890s point of view, mostly focused on things that make their lives convenient, such as cooking and cleaning water. But much of the way that they live is heavily adapted or to make life in the rainforest comfortable. Right? The way that they have learned to live, the way that they dress, the way that they hunt and whatnot. And they all seem to be quite relaxed and at peace with the world. No stress, no signs of modern city diseases like black lung and crushed body parts and that sort of stuff. In this idyllic setting, he explains that his daughter is an artist, and that since she was a child, she has been fascinated by the people from beyond the teeth of the mother.
What are the teeth of the mother?
Oh, he says, his English is getting better as he gets to use it. Like he's warming up. His grammar is fractured, but his point is being made. His accent is perfect. So it's a little bit weird how disjointed the grammar is, considering the construction of the words. But the teeth of the mother says, "Oh, they're just rocks in the river."
This is what the men from the expedition, not the men from the expedition, John St. John Smythe told us this way back when he was delirious, when we first encountered him. He did mention teeth.
Yeah.
Some sort of landmark of the river.
So he's walking you through the village and taking you through some undergrowth and around a corner where there's a large rock. And on the surface of the rock, the daughter is currently painting, right? And what she's painting is the scene of two of the pterodactyls with the glowing stone slung between them. She's adding it to her visual record on the stone using these local pigments. It's not paint in the sense of paint, but she's etching these colors, imprinting the colors on the stone. And the other very bright picture, brighter than the others, newer than the others, is of a massive pterodactyl. Right. Almost like the smaller ones, but there are some differences that her drawing makes clear. And of course, she captured the glowing stone in its neck. And there is an older image that shows, when you're far away, it looks like basically the head of a dragon or something along those lines, but the tongue has been done in white, so maybe the sun faded it or something like that. But as he brings you in closer, it's obviously a waterfall.
Yes. This corresponds to the ravings of St. John Smythe, the river of the gods, the white rock teeth, through the gorge and into the caverns of the mother, under the fiery eye go. That's what I remember.
And there are little red spots of color where the eyes of this monster would be.
Jewels, perhaps, or some sort of reddish stone. Yes.
Is that an actual formation, Mallory? Is that a real thing? That's just some fanciful picture? That's the idea?
I think they're drawing what they've seen, not necessarily what they imagine. And this corresponds to the hints we've had of the route to our destination. Is this not so?
Yes, I've seen it with my own eyes, says the local man, and Rochefort is nodding. It's real enough. It just looks like a rock from the air.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm like getting lost in the exquisiteness of the piece. It's fantastic. It's really dynamic, don't you think so, Mallory?
His daughter's blushing, you know.
It's fantastic.
This is all what you've seen recently in the skies.
And she points to the newer paintings. These are what we've seen recently.
So,
Go on.
Well, this thing had this green rock on the neck of that big one. What's that all about? What's the rock for? I mean, forgive me, I haven't seen one of these big ones. These fellas had all the fun.
That's right. You were in engineering during the attack.
Yeah. So what's the business with all this?
Well, I don't
What do
really
they do with
know.
those? Do you know? Well, I'm gonna ask our friends here. What is?
Yeah, let's see
what
if we
is-
can.
We have never traded with the people beyond the teeth of the mother. They are not welcoming of outsiders, and it's difficult to tell when their land is among our land and when it is elsewhere.
Sorry,
If you understand what I'm trying to say.
not the
So
slightest, old boy.
I'm not sure I do, as you're saying that the borders between your ancestral lands and theirs are difficult to tell apart, or is this more a literal meaning of?
They're having this conversation back and forth, you know, and then his daughter shyly breaks out in perfect English. There are times when the reptile cult is present and the world beyond the teeth is different. And she goes, "Forgive me, Father, for I have explored." And there are times when it is like everything else.
Well, that's weird.
Well, at this point, we've seen enough to keep an open mind and accept that this world may come and go, perhaps like the legends of our own homeland. Is it not, Professor? Like the lands of fairy
Yeah.
in our own country's myth?
Surely these are just superstitions, though. I'm going to need to see some hard science
Well,
to understand this.
Well, you're the professor. I suppose there must be some sort of logical explanation. I mean, if we
Always.
can make machines fly and automata, I'm not sure what the limits of science are at this point.
Well, indeed. But, yeah, I have a logical mind, and this seems more supernatural.
Ah, come, Professor. I'm sure this is just another frontier of science left to explore.
Well, I have an
God,
open mind.
30 years will be in every schoolboy's lips. My God. Come on, gentlemen. We can't just stay here. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes, this probably means we should hurry, lest the way be closed to us soon. We don't know when that may be.
Style points all around. You guys are lovely.
How many, sir? I'm
Just one ping,
one.
Vasily.
One thing.
One thing only.
Garibaldi is like his head is in a completely different space now. He's in the clouds. His eyes are glazed over. He's going from admiring the nuance of the picture to just he's picturing the titles. He's picturing the way the cover of the book looks.
We're going to be in all the textbooks that the high school children are forced to read and hate.
Except the chapter about the real leprechauns. Oh.
Right. So obviously they provide lunch and dinner where the caviar and the quail eggs and the champagne feature prominently as gifts from travelers from England, and people come and they practice their English, and they're willing to offer tidbits of their language. And Rochefort and the daughter of the gentleman that you met talk a little bit about the writing system, right? Rochefort is more of a spoken linguist than using this pictographic system, so it's definitely something he doesn't have time to memorize, right? Something that he uses a key to translate, but
That's fantastic.
so most of the writings that are around the waterfall entrance to the Lost Plateau are simply warnings, and they're warnings in so many different grammatical constructions, right? So it's using their pictographic symbols with other people's syntax from the tribes that may wander by. And she's quite proud of herself. She says, this one is English, and this one is French.
It's fantastic.
Well, should we jump in the skiffs and head upstream?
Unless you'd like to stay the night in this restful place where rest can be had.
Oh yeah, I think that's a good idea. That's just one more day. I don't think our fellows are already in a spot of trouble to begin with. And
Yeah, if there are any survivors, they'll still be there when we go, and if they're not, they're probably already.
If they're surviving, they're surviving. If they didn't survive, they've already
they're
not
already
survived.
dead. Yeah, they're already dead. Right. If they were going to kill them, they probably killed them on the first day, right? So.
Now, an older woman of the tribe, right, about here on Garibaldi, right, this fantastically gray and black hair, like it's somehow black out at the ends and gray close to her head, so it's pretty spectacular. She's been eyeing Garibaldi for a while once the dinner party starts, and her eyes are kind of sunken in a hard gray, and she doesn't have a single tooth left anymore, right? But she is, grabbing onto the daughter repeatedly and asking questions. And then finally the daughter comes over and says, my grandmother understands that you are not feeling well.
Oh, that's a little worse for wear.
My grandmother wants you to stop lying about your injuries.
Oh, all right. A little knackered. Beat up. Yeah, absolutely.
My grandmother wants to know if you know what gangrene is.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yes. No, I'm a biologist, trained biologist, but yes. I'm starting to look around. They're sniffing for any telltale sign. Right. Yes, I got to get a slightly more serious look upon my face at that point. But yes.
And she is a renowned healer in the region, and she would like to help you because she thinks that you have been chosen for a great mission.
Oh. Yes, of course, I'll have her help me.
I've tried to convince her that you are just someone who is seeking fame and self-aggrandizement, but she's told me that I am too young to understand such things, and I will accept her judgment.
You know, we always have to listen to our elders.
I mean, I
Don't
got a
worry.
feeling she summed you up quite well. But...
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So she's offering to take you into her dwelling.
Right.
Right. She wants you to lie down on this cot.
Of course. But yeah, absolutely.
As a thrill seeker,
Absolutely.
or a glory seeker, or however it is that we have phrased Lawrence, how are you feeling now at the opportunity of facing tribal medicine?
I'm feeling pretty excited about this, actually.
All right.
Once I realized that,
I mean, what could go wrong?
Because
I realized
this is
our
going to
grandmother-
generate a little bit of trouble for the others, right? They go into the dwelling, the curtain is drawn across, and that's when the screaming starts.
Right. Okay.
She starts kneading your muscles. The daughter saying, no, just relax. It hurts now, but it will get better, right? She's just wailing on you with this knobby stick, and she's pressing into pressure points, and she's chewing something the whole time and smiling. And then she passes it to you to continue chewing.
God in heaven.
Yummy.
And then comes the smelly poultice, which is actually nice and warm and relaxing at first, but then it starts to burn. Just don't worry about that burning. It's not acid. It's just the evil leaving your body.
No, thank God, probably basic. I'm sure it's not acidic. It's an alkaloid. Oh,
And because you were gored
to you how that works.
through the side,
By the beak.
she's very worried about the little demons, the bacteria in your body causing trouble. I think the word is sepsis, but I don't know. So this part is probably going to hurt.
No, I'm sure it's going to hurt a lot.
And we're just going to draw the curtain because of the viewers at home on what happens next. But tomorrow, you will have regained 2 of your lethal wounds.
Yay.
That's right.
So now you've only got 3 lethal wounds.
How do you feel, Baldy? Oh, much better.
It's exhilarating.
Again.
Again, please.
Grover. I still supposed to have any of that tea left. Did we drink all the champagne? Somebody tell me some of the champagne is left.
For just a moment, Grover looks completely at peace with the world.
That little bastard.
But then his true nature reasserts itself. I shall endeavor to find a teapot.
Thank you, Grover. Whatever you say, clay pot, something. Oh.
Sir looks a bit exasperated.
But all his pores are open.
Oh, God. And the problem is, I really understand what this is like. Oh.
That's the sad part. It's way too real, right?
Oh yeah, that's fine. It's okay. Just keep rubbing that spot. It'll be fine.
Grandma has some really knobby knuckles.
Yeah.
It's fierce. All right. So the next day, the tribe packs a nice fish lunch for you and is willing. They all meet down in the river to bid you farewell, and a warm handshake from your host. If there's any way we can help you, or if we find survivors floating down the river, we will make sure they get to Balim safely.
That's service enough. All we can ask.
Fantastic, thank you.
Watch as far as you can, as close as you can to the caverns of the mother. There may be wounded when we emerge.
Those poor bastards.
I ask Rochefort, how far is it beyond this cavern to the outpost on foot, do you think?
Did you want to go on? Oh, from beyond the cavern?
Yeah, because I think we leave the skiffs near
The-
the cavern entrance.
It's really not that far. They use mules to transfer the ore shipments from the mine. I've never actually visited the mine. 2 or 3 hours, I would say.
Okay. Well, we'll have to risk it. Leave the skiffs outside and make our way on foot. Pray we are swift enough to go in and out before the reptile men are upon us.
And just before you leave, the daughter comes rushing up late, having missed the beginning part of the ceremony. And she's got a precious piece of paper, which doesn't survive very well in this environment, folded up in her hands, and she wants to press it into Oscar Winegold's hands.
Okay.
I made this for you, and I would like you to consider it, sir, with all due respect.
Well, thank you, my dear. I'll take it. Have a look at it.
Inside, she has painted a classic factory shape. But instead of smoke billowing out of its coal stacks, she has covered the whole thing in vines and flowers, and the stacks have crumbled and fallen. And she says, I do hope you will consider ending your slavery to progress and find happiness instead. She's like 11 years old.
Well, thank you. I'm sure this is most interesting. As a man of science, I don't agree.
I understand that my words don't make sense, but maybe one day when you pass through the other side, from death into life. And then she gets all flustered and she runs off.
I just slipped the piece of paper in my pocket.
That little Greta is quite the precocious little girl, isn't she? All right.
Some things to think
Rochefort
about.
says, well, can we please get moving? Then he winks.
We just got to be awful looking. All right. Oh, what a horrible picture. Yes, let's go, gentlemen. I feel fantastic. Looking for a good synonym for bravery that just still encapsulates the screaming part. What do you think, Percy? Anyhow, well, you come up with it. Let's go, fellas. Yes, exactly.
So without too much delay, at the great speed of the skiffs and the extreme confidence of the navigation team, it's not very long before you take a detour of sorts away from the wide body of the Amazon into one that's shrouded and overhung. And as you kind of enter into the mouth of that river road, you can already see the top of a looming mountainous shape, and you already feel the elevation. The current is moving faster as away from you as you head upstream. And then you break out into sunlight, facing exactly the image that you've seen from the daughter's drawing, right? And it is looming and it is glittering, and you can almost, through squinted eyes, believe that it is real and animate and looking at you. And its eyes do blaze in a brilliant red. The shadows of the skiff and your body shapes in the skiff stretches out across the brownish waters of the Amazon toward them, as if your spirits are being drawn into the open maw of the creature. And the teeth do look white, but it's not because it's a white granite or a white stone. It's because it's glittering with diamond reflecting the sunlight behind you.
Fantastic. I stand right up in the proud skiff and say, Ms. Smith, use me for scale.
And the whole place echoes with a roar, an actual draconic roar, which is the thunder of the water coming down from inside the head and slamming into the base of the mouth and then exploding out like steam. And she, for once, is utterly gobsmacked, and she's standing there with her flash pan and the camera and takes no picture.
Miss Smith! Come on
And
now.
Percy starts screaming about posterity. Quick, woman, for posterity! And Rochefort says, well, we've arrived.
Under the fiery eyes we go, I suppose, into the caverns of the mother.
Into the caverns of the mother, indeed.
Into the caverns.
So we...
Cheer up, Winegold, come on.
Into the dangerous, life-threatening caverns.
It may be large enough for the skiffs to enter, but maybe not. Rochefort can give you no advice here because he went over.
Do we take the risk?
I'll go on foot behind Rochefort just to get a sense of the size of the tunnel beyond.
All right. How would you like to conduct your investigation of the area? I mean, everybody needs to get out and eat and relieve themselves and take pictures and write epic poems about the journey. So, you've got plenty of time to make your decisions. And you've arrived, you've left the village at dawn, right? So you've got hours before it's even noon.
So, do we have any scientific, electrocarbolic lanterns or something to go in? Because the waterfall is going to make everything really wet. We go in.
It's got to be kidding me. You know how precious this stuff is?
I think it would be totally normal for Neslinger's launches to have running lights. So not terribly brilliant, but running lights.
Something I can use to go inside and have a good look around. Or otherwise, just take some wood and fashion some torches and maybe wrap them up so they survive the passage through the waterfall, right? So they don't get too wet. Or unless Mr. Garibaldi can whip up some electrocarbolic.
Don't lose this. Bring this back, Mr. Mallory.
Now you can make such a concoction on the auto, my friend.
I'm pouring out of our
can.
precious batteries. that's what I'm giving him.
All right then.
Give him just a little bit for illumination, not a lot.
Yeah. All right, so I'll take that and my guns, and I'll go through the waterfall and try to look at the cavern beyond, get a sense for, is it dry? Is it, because the river's up top, so it's falling down, and we're going through the veil, right? There's a cavern behind the veil.
Behind the water, yes.
So,
and the water is coming down with tremendous force. All right, George Mallory, please roll perception. Anyone going with George, or is he going to disappear on his own and no one ever knows what happened to him?
I'll go with him.
Did I say that out loud?
I'll go with him because I don't trust him because I want to drop this thing. Besides,
Send Burke and Phillips with him.
Send Burke. Oscar's going to stay behind. Send Burke.
I'll go with him. I'll hold this. Yeah,
Someone's got to look after the skiffs.
that's exactly right.
I'm polishing.
Yeah.
so
A splinter.
You leave that damn robot alone. I don't want to come back here with that thing taken apart.
all right, so I got a 6 in rating and perception. Do I get any help or anything?
Take Phillips with us. Maybe he'll give you a hand.
Yeah, take Phillips with you. That'll give you an assist for 2 dice.
All right, so let's do that, and we get a total of 3 successes on 8 dice. That is abysmal.
That's what I'm used to. That's what I'm saying. The average is starting to look
Like pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
But 3 successes, yeah.
3 successes. All right. Okay, so this kind of shuts down your critical thinking, I would say, shrinking your focus down to one peculiar fact. The water, this heavy force of water, which is slamming into the rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fine mist or something. It's tremendous, which creates this huge roar. The water is literally falling out of the air inside the head of the creature. It's coming from nowhere.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, this makes sense in a strange sort of way. It's what the girl described. It's like it's coming from elsewhere. Like the tales of fairy from our homeland.
Only one thing to do. How high up is it coming from? Like, where's the nowhere start? Man height? 10 feet up? 20 feet up?
As you're looking for, how far up is it, you're able to move around and see that there are caverns behind the teeth of the mother, behind the waterfall. And scaling them will not be easy. There's no stairs cut or handholds cut.
Hold my jar. I'm going up. I'm scrambling up.
You think that's wise?
Athletics.
Absolutely. Not just athletics, any athletics, but climb with 8 dice.
Has Garibaldi considered anything wise?
That's true. So, come, Garibaldi. I don't think we have time for this.
Just hold this for a second. Come on. I gotta get a better look at this. Okay, maybe at least I get the perspective being up there. So I'm trying to climb up at least to a cavern where I can see where the water starts coming out of no place.
It's wet and covered with the sort of stuff that grows in such environments, kind of slippery and gelid. But the whole place is reflecting light everywhere. And the sound is just deafening, right? So your conversation is actually screamed at the top of your lungs. Do you think that's wise?
It wasn't wise leaving London, old boy. So I took these dice out of my hand before I rolled them. I've got 8 dice to climb up with.
That should get
dice.
us a style point there.
Yes, definitely. Style. Minus 2 dice for the inherent difficulty of the challenge.
Okay, so that's 6 dice. But let's see. Do I want to spend any of these dice? No, not right now. I'm just climbing up just as easy.
Oh, jeez.
It should be so easy.
Space. Oh yes, and so that was. If it was hard, I did it.
It was hard.
Okay, good. Oh, it's like it's a minor. It's simple success. Yeah.
So was
minor success. Yeah.
Was that originally 8 minus 2 is?
Yeah. And I rolled 6 dice. I got 4. I got over the average.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Somebody had to do it. I knew it could be you.
Triple Ace Games dice. As you can see behind me.
Not available on PDF.
Yeah, but sometimes you can buy the ones that people have actually played with. Actual dice. They've actually been used in the actual
tested dice.
All right. And as our time for play draws to a close, Lawrence Garibaldi, clambering up with a great display of experience, but not without slipping, not without backsliding, not without having to recalculate, makes it up to the point where he can see into the lowest of the cavern openings. Not unlike the sinuses in the cranium that our medically trained George Mallory might recognize inside this head-shaped entrance to mystery. And as his head comes up and he can see into the cavern, the deafening sound of the thunderous waterfall is completely drowned out by the roar of rage from inside and the shaking of the very stone as huge footfalls thunder forward and over Garibaldi's small little head thrusts into the light, scattering the water, the head of the Tyrannosaurus.
Oh, okay.
Get the crane!
And in Belim, in the house
Of John.
of John St. John Smythe, he drops his teacup. It shatters, raining precious tea down the stairs. And he says, "Run! Run!" And we fade to black.
That ends another episode of
The Sky
No Limit.
Is no limit.
Robin, you were playing the part of Alpha at that point?
Yeah.
You're beyond its my full stuff. That's awesome. Oh, that's
Awesome.
perfect. That's perfect.
Really cool.
Yeah. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties, but they could not be helped. Fortunately, power is back, as you can see. So,
Yeah, you're able to restart.
I have one technical question before we, did I get a style point for being brave enough to go into Granny's torture shop?
Oh,
I go, okay, and that's what I, okay. So I'm actually sitting on some style. That's great. Wow, that's good because I'm going to need them. I'm going to need them at the start of the visit. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think so. It says the guy that
What's one
runs up the...
Tyrannosaurus Rex?
the
more or
right-
less?
I'm just happy that I made it a point to say that I'm taking my guns with me. So
Yeah. I'm still polishing the
I'm
skips.
happy that you decided to take Bert
that's
with you
true.
instead of Oscar.
That's true.
Oscar with his crossbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I have this picture of Phillips the Sharp-Eyed finally, like, you know, oh, look! He's in trouble. Finally gets his head out of his rear end lawn. I say, old boy, that's a rather big chicken.
Look at the drumsticks on that thing.
Oh, that's a perfect visual, though.
All right. You have 1 point for showing up. I feel like Aloy should get 2 points because he showed up twice.
Yeah. We can all do that.
Stop trying to game the system.
Yeah.
Peril.
I think we're in peril now. I don't know if it counts because
But were you in peril during the journey?
No, I don't believe so. I think we really won.
I'm going to go with no peril.
I think no problem this time.
Wisdom.
yes, we
We learned quite
learned
a
from
bit.
the little girl, right? We got some information on the cavern, on the fading in and out of existence of the, you know, that's important bit. That's like a little time clock on our against us. So
Listen,
I
Garibaldi,
back to London.
as a trained biologist, Garibaldi learned that dinosaurs are real because pterodons aren't technically dinosaurs. So now he has absolute proof that dinosaurs are real, and so are leprechauns. There's no proof yet,
apparently, but
except for hearsay of a little girl. But hey,
Okay.
learned a
So
lot.
wisdom.
I mean, I learned that the perhaps our industrial ways are the wrong thing to do, but I'm going to ignore that.
Listen. There's idyllic
15
thing. And
experience
all,
points.
listen, Winegold. They have this idyllic setting, and everything looks really great. But where did all these little knickknacks come from? They came from our smelly factories in Britain.
Yeah.
right.
That's true. That is
So
true.
they're living off somebody else's misery. So don't buy into this idyllic crap. Winegold.
Yeah.
Somebody's got coal smudged all over them. They've got our blood on
It's
their
really
hands.
interesting. He hates money.
Right.
He equates factories with misery. That's fantastic. All right. Success. You have made it to the entrance to the Lost Plateau.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stat 3 style points.
Three
Experience points. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Excellent.
do you think any role playing occurred, or were you guys mostly just kind of, moving pawns on a board?
I think
there
we
was
did
some role
good
playing going on.
role-playing.
Yeah. How can you justify this, Ivan?
Ivan, on the strength of the it wasn't wise leaving London. I think just
Yeah.
on the strength of that, I think it's just lean back and go like, I think I
don't-
did
yeah,
my
I-
part.
I think
No, listen, look.
I think Winegold was questioning the peril of traveling
Oh,
further up the river.
And with that damn robot having to get pulled
And the
away from
robot.
Yeah.
over and over again.
So
I could tell you that I certainly felt like Garibaldi. Like, I mean, I could feel my eyes kind of like roll back in my head especially as soon as the idea of the grandiose and the supernatural and all that, or the unexplored, really not supernatural, but I kind of felt him like waking up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That before we've kind of been like before it's kind of been foiled. Like, it just seems like just a constant stream of interruptions or obstacles in our way, and like now, like, here we are, Pismo Beach, all the clams we can eat for real. We're right there. So I can feel the excitement like just boiling over in them.
I think we're getting the excitement of the exploration, right? The finally the skiffs are like moving up the river, right? This idea we had like months ago finally comes to fruition, right? We're
Literal
making good time.
Yeah.
We're headed off to a new frontier, right?
We have just spent most of our campaign on the beach and just a few yards into the Amazon jungle.
Into the Amazon, yeah.
So
It's true.
this is
it's worth it.
That
The
is-
only thing that makes it back to London is like a manuscript and a few photographs, and
It's
that's
worth it. Yeah.
It's worth it.
Perfect.
it's still worth it. Yeah.
Even if we all remain here and die here.
Or die, that's just fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but we will
This is actually a question I had for you guys was, like normally an adventure is like 3 or 4 sessions of something, but I wanted to approach this as open-ended.
Yeah.
Not that there's this scene, this scene, this scene, this scene, and we just advance through it until we get to the end. But if the Epiphany crashes, the water's poisoned. At any point, you could have packed it up and gone back to London, found some other expedition, gone on some other adventure, like in real life, or press on. And so, did it feel like some kind of hard-earned victory today to get there?
Yeah.
Well, this is session what? Session 10 or 11? 11. So
12, really.
12.
Yeah,
So it's
'cause you
taken a
didn't-
while to get to this point, right? We've been waiting for this since the 3rd session when we met St. John Smythe, and he said the caverns of the mother and the under the fiery eyes go, and so we've been looking forward to this, right? So it feels at least like a milestone. It's not like we completed an adventure, but we reached a milestone, right? And it feels earned, right? We have to fight the guy, the reptile men, like 4 times already. We've been through 2 crashes with, so yeah, it feels like a big.
I mean, I think the pace. I mean,
milestone.
sometimes. I mean, if you're playing a game in a convention, you don't have the time to kind of really dig into your characters and explore things in a bit more detail. So having this kind of pace feels nice, and you can just have a bit of fun with it. So yeah, it's good.
And there's been a shift in Mallory's character too, right? Originally he's in it for fame, and he's achieved a small measure of it, but now it's shifted sort of to duty to, Queen and country, right? So it's more to rescue people than to visit this lost world, right? Although he is fascinated by the idea. So, but the motivation seems to be slowly drifting to duty, right?
Right.
So it's an interesting development.
Garibaldi too. I never would have expected last session's speech about it's all about the money instead of the purity of exploration, and that was really an interesting insight into that into that character, what kind of thrill, thrill seeker is open, right? You're in it for the thrill, but what is the thrill for Garibaldi? It's a question that I like.
How did Oscar put that one time about the mice? Let's not talk about such things. That's that British way. Let's not talk about filthy money as two broke aristocrats get together. Yes, really. Step up.
So it's such an
let me hand them out.
yeah, such an ugly thing to talk about.
That's exactly.
It's so ugly.
Talk about. and Garibaldi is the point where he's just dirty. Just let's not touch it. Ruins it. That ruins it.
And it completely puts into context why Garibaldi's living in that empty townhouse in London. Like Grover is hanging on for life and death to the silver tea service, right? Which then Garibaldi trashes in fighting off the villains who come to abduct him. It's like Grover's life is crumbling around his
Not the Wedgwood, sir. Not the Wedgwood.
With the Wedgwood, right? It's the last thing left.
The fine china, sir.
Yeah, it's funny because every time I hear Grover's voice, it's always in Robin's voice.
In Robin's tone,
Not the Wedgwood, sir. That's exactly what he sounds like. Yeah, they're coming alive. So
I like that. I like that moment when Grover really enjoys the pain that you suffer at the hands of the witch doctor.
That snotty little bastard deserves some rights.
Oh, this is so good. This is the best moment.
Justice.
Oh, justice.
Scream.
The years I've had to put up with this hideous man.
What struck me was that with his flaw of his obsequious nature, he wants to ingratiate himself in with the people who are in power. Well, right now that's grandma and the people of the village, right? And they're clearly enjoying cleansing this poor savage enslaved barbarian of the technological world, and he's like, yes.
I definitely think Grover is in awe of the hoi polloi.
You could almost hear Garibaldi screaming from inside the hut, right? And Grover outside with a little tray, just sipping some tea, like.
Cleanse those demons.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the actual scene in which movie, but I'm hearing him scream in like Harrison Ford's voice. Maybe it's from Empire.
Right. In the torture chamber. They didn't ask me any questions. Yeah.
She just made me chew this. And Grover, I need to get the taste out of my mouth. Just give me the strongest tea you got.
He sort of staggers out. They didn't even heal me.
That would have been funny if Garibaldi had come out and said, "I feel terrible."
Yeah, pretty much. Well, pretty much that's how it came out. That's how it came out.
All right. Well, I'm glad everybody had a good time. I certainly did. And maybe someday, if we play enough sessions, we'll be able to say the sky is no limit at the same time. Like, I don't know, young school children seem to be able to do.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to do a countdown to it so that we can time it. Just so.
Have one of those bouncing balls, like sing along with Mitch.
Yeah, the sky is. Yeah. So, it'd be very cool to get enough, as we were discussing, get enough XP to double down on a tally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's actually kind of where I'm at now, because I'm looking at sports 15, 16, 17, 18 XP. So technically, but it's like, do I double down on Jack of all trades, or do I double down on Die Hard? Both be extremely useful in my situation.
Well,
Die Hard might be more useful right now.
Yeah.
And certainly could be explained by the traumatic yet life-affirming experience with Grandma.
Yeah.
Who has tanned your hide.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if these lizard people who fly the pterodactyls, whether they ride the T-Rexes.
Well, not enough of his body has come out of the thing yet.
They just saw his head. Yeah.
Not likely that they ride the T-Rexes. They probably just ride the Velociraptors.
Oh, right, okay.
They're smaller, right? So
Don't give
They've got those little legs.
yeah.
There's they're redoing it right now.
any ideas.
But the Peabody Museum in New Haven, Connecticut, there's a really famous mural. You ever see that mural, the Age of the Dinosaurs? It's actually drawn there. That's painted on the wall there. I went there since I was a kid. But there's a T-Rex skull in there, and they're huge.
Yeah.
And I think this is a small one. So I know exactly how big these teeth are. I've touched those teeth as a little boy. You know,
Nice.
they're big. And yes, I'm just looking. I've got a really good visual of exactly how big the thing is. You know, way before Jurassic Park, I've been right there. Of course, I'm looking at it almost in my little boy body, so it's even bigger.
Yeah.
So it's even bigger. So were you imagining the T-Rex with scales or with feathers?
Scales. It's been too long.
Yeah, it's a little too long.
I know it's supposed to have feathers, but it's been way too many years imagining the different, the original T-Rex.
Yeah, I've kind of had that in my head though. The deafening roar, from just concentrating on the slimy rocks. But there's this deafening roar, and then kind of like almost not even hearing the T-Rex, but just sort of looking up, and there it is. There's so much other noise going on.
I guess it's the
Snort.
And just being exhilarated up and right at that point, I was like, good God.
Yeah.
I've seen one of those too. I can't remember if it's a museum in Chicago or the Smithsonian in Washington D.C., but I've been to both. So as a kid, so I know I saw it in one of those. But
I saw one last year when I was at the Natural History Museum in London. So, and I mean, they've got a great selection of stuff there. So,
It's like his big pointy teeth.
yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
Remarkable. All right, fellas. So I gotta
Right,
go.
so now we talked about the length of and the joy of playing long form campaigns. Next week we can play, and I can eat you all with a T-Rex.
Right. That's because you just jinxed it, but but it's fine. That's what we're saying. I think it's one of those things where it's just the expedition itself is worth it, right? We could just make new characters and keep playing, right?
I think Phillips would be a fine character to start playing after Garibaldi gets eaten.
I mean,
That's pretty cool.
I'm surprised that Garibaldi's still alive. I mean, the hell you've been through with that character. I mean,
It's okay.
Pincushion comes to mind. So,
All right.
I find it exhilarating.
okay, right. Well, I think that'll do it for this week. I'm going to end our live stream here, and we'll see you next time, folks. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Lots of fun,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Enjoy it. Take it easy.